Why love starts in your brain, not your heart. Have you ever wondered why one person can walk into a room and suddenly your heart starts racing? Your palm gets sweaty. You can't stop thinking about them. You check your phone again and again, hoping they have texted. And somehow, this one person suddenly feels more important than almost anything else. We usually say, I fell in love with my heart, but scientifically, that's not quite what's happened. Because love doesn't actually begin in your heart, it begins in your brain. Your heart simply reacts to what your brain is doing. And what's even more fascinating is romantic love can change your brain activity, your hormones, your attention, your motivation, and even the way you perceive the person you're falling for. So, today, let's take a journey inside your brain and discover what's actually happening when you are falling in love. Why does your heart race? Let's start with something almost everyone has experienced. You see the person you like. Suddenly, your heart starts beating faster. Your stomach feels strange. You become hyper aware of everything what's happening and what you're doing. You might even forget what you are about to say. It feels like your heart is falling in love, but your heart doesn't actually decide that you're attracted to someone. Your brain does. When you see someone you're attracted to, your brain processes their face, their smell, body language, and countless other signals. If your brain decides this is the person and this person is important, it can activate your body's stress and arousal systems. One important player is the sympathetic nervous system. It prepares your body for action. Your heart rate can increase. Your breathing can change. Your palms may sweat. Your pupils may dilate. Your body is essentially saying, pay attention, something important is happening. And that's when one reason attraction can feel so physical. You're not imagining it. Your body really is reacting. But the command starts in your brain, your brain's reward system. Now we get one of the most fascinating parts of love, dopamine. Dopamine is often called the pleasure chemical, but that's an oversimplification. It's strongly involved in motivation, reward prediction, learning, and wanting. And romantic attraction can strongly engage the brain's reward system. Imagine you're talking to someone you really like. They text you. Your brain notices. You feel excited. You want to talk to them again. You start looking forward to the next message. Your brain begins learning. This person is associated with something rewarding, and that can create a powerful motivational loop. You don't simply enjoy the person, you begin to want more interaction with them. That's why you might suddenly find checking your phone without even realizing it. Did they reply? Why haven't they replied? Maybe they are busy. Maybe they'll reply after some time. Your brain is waiting for a reward, and unpredictable rewards can especially be attention grabbing. That's one reason inconsistent communication can sometimes make people think that they are in love. Not because inconsistency automatically means love, but because uncertainty can keep the brain searching for next rewarding outcome. Why you can't stop thinking about them? Now let's answer one of the biggest questions. Why does a crush take over your mind? You can be working, studying, eating, watching a movie, and suddenly their face appears in your thoughts. Why? Because when something becomes emotionally significant, your brain gives it priority. Attention is limited. Your brain constantly decides what deserves my attention. When you're strongly attracted to someone, information related to that person can become highly salient. Their name stands out, their messages stand out, Their favorite song suddenly reminds you of them. You even notice things associated with them. Even tiny details become memorable. You might remember exactly what they were wearing, what they said, what they were standing, or the way they looked at you. It's important, like your brain has created a special folder labeled important, and suddenly everything related to that person gets sent there. Why the beginning of love can feel like an obsession? There's another interesting phenomenon. Early romantic love can sometimes resemble obsessive thinking, not necessarily in a chemical sense, but in the sense that your thoughts can become repetitive and difficult to control. You replay conversations, you analyze their text, you wonder what they meant, you imagine the future scenarios. You think about whether they like you back, and then you think about the fact that you're thinking about them. It's a loop, and there's a reason this is happening. When something is emotionally important and uncertain, your brain has a strong reason to keep monitoring it. Your brain wants to answer. Where do I stand with this person? Are they interested? Are they pulling away? Will they message? Will this relationship happen? Uncertainty creates unanswered questions, and the brain doesn't particularly like unanswered questions, so it keeps returning to the situation. The role of norepinephrine. Another chemical involved in romantic attraction is norepinephrine. Norepinephrine is involved in alertness and arousal, and when you're attracted to someone, this system can contribute to intense physical sensations of a crush. You might feel unusually alert around them. You notice every little thing they do. Your heart beats faster. You feel energized. You may have trouble sleeping because your heart and mind is racing. And suddenly, a person you've known for only a short period of time can occupy an enormous amount of mental space. Your brain has essentially increased the importance of the situation. Why love can make you idealize someone? Here's where things really get interesting. When you're falling in love, you may not see the person exactly as they are. You see them through your brain's interpretation of them. Maybe they have flaws. Everyone does. But your brain might temporarily place more weight to their positive qualities. They are funny. They are attractive. They are special. They are different. They just understand me. And their annoying habits, you might barely notice them. Or you might find them adorable. This is sometimes called idealization. Your emotions can influence how you interpret another person's behavior. For example, if someone you like takes 3 hours to reply, you might think they are probably busy. But if someone you dislike does the same exact thing, they are ignoring me. Same behavior, different emotional context. Your brain doesn't simply record reality, it interprets reality. And attraction can influence that interpretation. Why love can make you feel like they are the one? Have you ever met someone and immediately thought there's something different about them? That feeling can incredibly be powerful. But, but here's more important. Feeling that someone is uniquely perfect for you doesn't necessarily mean your brain has discovered your predetermined soulmate. Your brain is constantly constructing meaning from experiences. If someone gives you attention at that right moment, makes you feel understood, shares your interest, or creates intense emotional experience, your brain can connect those experiences together, and suddenly the person doesn't just represent themselves. They represent how you feel when you are around them. Safe, excited, desired, understood, alive. And that can make the attachment incredibly feel deep. Why we sometimes want people who don't want us? Now here's the painful question. Why can someone become even more mentally consuming when they aren't available? Why do some people become obsessed with someone who barely gives them attention? One possible factor is uncertainty. When the outcome isn't guaranteed, your brain keeps monitoring the situation. Maybe they'll change their mind. Maybe they'll text tomorrow. Maybe they'll secretly like me. Maybe something will happen. The brain keeps searching for evidence, and every tiny positive signal can feel extremely meaningful. A message, a like, a compliment, a glance, a reaction. Your brain may treat these as potential rewards, but this doesn't mean that unavailable people are automatically more attractive. This means that uncertainty can intensify attention and mental preoccupation. And there's an important distinction. Sometimes what feels like extraordinary chemistry may partly be a combination of attraction, uncertainty, anticipation, and reward learning. One hormone often associated with social bonding is oxytocin. Oxytocin is involved in social interaction, attachment, and bonding. Physical affection, intimacy, and positive experiences can influence oxytocin systems. It helps explain why love isn't simply I want this person. Over time, it can become I feel connected to this person. That's a very different psychological experience. Early attraction can be intense and exciting, but long term attachment tends to involve something deeper: trust, familiarity, comfort, shared experiences, and emotional connection. Why long term love feels different? Think about the difference between a new crush and a long term relationship. A new crush can feel like fireworks. Everything is exciting. You want to know everything about them. You think about them constantly. You can't wait to see them. But over time, this experience can change. The brain becomes more familiar with that person. The uncertainty decreases. The relationship can become less constant anticipation and more about attachment and companionship. That doesn't necessarily mean love is disappearing. It can mean that the nature of the relationship is changing. The intense, I can't stop thinking about you stage isn't the only form of love. Sometimes love becomes quieter. More safety, less obsession, more familiarity, less do you like me, and more we are in this together. Why breakups hurt so much? And now we reach the darker side of brain's relationship with love: heartbreak. If love begins with brain, then heartbreak does too. After a breakup, you might experience something strange. You know the relationship is over, but your brain hasn't necessarily caught up emotionally. You may still expect their message. You may instinctively reach for your phone. You may want to tell them something. You may see something funny and think, I should send this to them. And then you remember you're not together anymore. This can happen because your brain has learned a huge number of associations around that person: their name, their voice, their face, their routine, their messages, their presence. Your brain has spent time building predictions around them, and suddenly those predictions are wrong. That's one reason breakups can feel so disorienting. You're not just losing a person, you're losing the entire pattern of expectations. Why your brain keeps going back. This is why you can understand something logically, but still feel completely different emotionally. Your logical brain might say, this relationship wasn't good for me. But another part of your brain may still remember, this person once made me feel amazing. Both can exist at the same time. And that's why healing isn't always convincing yourself that you never cared. It's about allowing your brain to learn, this person is no longer a part of my life. With time, new experiences and new associations can gradually become stronger. The brain is adaptable. It can learn. It can update its expectations. And that's one of the most hopeful things about heartbreak. The intensity you feel today isn't necessarily the intensity you might feel forever. So, is love just chemistry? At this point, you might be thinking, if love is dopamine, hormones and brain's activity, does that mean love isn't real? Absolutely not. Saying love involved biologically doesn't make it meaningless. Think about music. Your brain processes sound waves, but that doesn't mean your favorite song is meaningless. Think about laughter. Your brain and body create it, but it doesn't make a genuine laugh fake. Biology explains how we experience love. It doesn't necessarily explain what that love means to you. Human relationships involve memories, choices, values, experiences, personality, and meaning. Chemistry is a part of the story. It's not the entire story. Your brain doesn't find love, it builds it. Here's perhaps the most beautiful part. Your brain isn't simply waiting for a magical person to arrive. Relationships are built through repeated experiences. Every conversation, every moment of trust, every time someone supports you, every shared experience, every laugh, every difficult conversation you survive together, your brain learns this person matters. And over time, those experiences can become deeply connected to your emotional world. That's why love isn't something about finding someone attractive. It's also about what happens between two people. The biggest lesson. So, next time when someone says, I love you with all my heart, you can smile because technically your heart isn't making decision. Your brain is. Your heart is responding to the signals from your nervous system. Your hormones are influencing your body. Your reward system is helping shape motivation. Your memories are shaping your perception. Your experiences are shaping attachment. And your brain is constantly learning what and who matters to you. So maybe love doesn't start in the heart. Maybe it starts as a tiny signal in the brain and then becomes a thought, then a feeling, then a pattern, then a memory, and eventually a connection between two human beings. And perhaps that's what makes love so fascinating. Because the same organ that helps you solve problems, remember childhood, imagine the future, and recognize yourself, is also the organ that can make particular person feel like they mean the world to you. Your heart may race when you fall in love, but your brain is where the story begins. If you enjoyed discovering the psychology behind love, subscribe to Brain Notes for more fascinating videos about human minds and tell me in the comments, do you think love is more about chemistry or connection? Because sometimes understanding your brain doesn't make emotions less magical, it makes them feel even more fascinating. See you in the next video.